Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. Today, we're going to be talking about the best credit cards for beginners, but we're also going to get into a little bit of credit card strategy. And I'm trying to think how to put this, the philosophy of credit cards. Not just that, but how they work. So I think it's important to not just give you some information on the best credit cards that are available for you for a beginner and also seeing where you can go, but also getting the idea of how you should be using these cards in the long run. So if you're new to my channel, we talk about financial literacy, we talk about business strategy, we talk about just everything that's gonna increase your financial aptitude, and we try to do it in the most responsible way, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're taking advantage of all of the things that are around us as far as opportunities. So one of the most important things, and today I'm going to be talking about mostly personal credit cards. So when I'm speaking, I'm going to be speaking from a personal perspective, not necessarily a business perspective. So just keep that in mind. I'll probably reiterate that as we continue because some of the things may sound contradictory if you've heard any of my previous videos. So we can just get right into it. I don't like to waste too much time. So credit. We've talked about credit a few times on this channel, and I just wanted to give more insight on that. If you're young, if you're under 18 and you're watching this video, you probably have heard things about credit cards. When I was a kid, I heard that credit cards were bad. I heard that, you should only use cash. Cash is king. If you have a credit card, that means you can't afford to pay for something, which if you're using it the wrong way, some of those things true, but some of those things are based in ignorance. Just from having a lack of knowledge when it comes to how to utilize credit. So for an example, I want to put that here, that capitalism is built on credit. This entire economy is built on credit, the education system, the benefits that you have, Social Security, the military, everything's built on credit because capitalism is built on credit. An example of that, I wanted to use a couple of figures who everyone would be aware of. Steve Jobs, Apple, credit. Had to get a loan for that. Had to get investors for that. Elon Musk with Tesla, same thing. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, he bought Twitter with credit. Jeff Bezos, same thing. You gotta understand that the wealthiest of the wealthy people, they leverage credit in order for them to become who they are. They didn't start out, billionaires. They had to work their way up, and credit in essence was the vehicle to allow them to get to the position that they are now. Now, I'm not saying you need to worry about being the wealthiest person in the world. You just want to make sure that you're using your credit cards the proper way. This is just an example. It's an extreme example, but nonetheless, it's so extreme. I want you to understand that even the most successful people had to somehow use credit to a degree in order to get to where they are. And we've talked about this again, but I want to give you a simple example. And this is how credit works. And this is how credit is looked at in terms of credit cards. So if I lend you $10, I'll say, hey, $10, I'll let you borrow it. At a later date, you're going to give me $12. The $2, that difference, usually is interest. We'll call that interest. Now, if you pay me back on time, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell other people that you're really good at paying back. Oh, if he asks you to borrow money, yeah, man, he always pay back on time. I'll report that. And you'll get a score for it. They'll grade you on that. They say, yo, this guy pays back so well, we're going to give him the highest mark he could ever get, 850. Perfect. He always pays back. And if you don't pay me back, I'm going to warn people about you. I'm going to tell people, oh, he never paid me back that $10. Never. And since you didn't pay me back the $10 and I warned people, now We're going to grade you. But now your score is 500. So now other people can pull that score and they can say, well, that guy's a 500. Can't lend to him. Clearly he doesn't pay back. Or he has no experience when it comes to paying back debt. And that's basically it. That's credit in a nutshell. Hopefully that was the simplest example I feel like you could make. And while it is, it's rudimentary, I get it, it's basic, but the principle still applies. So when you're thinking about credit cards, just know that you're being graded on how often you pay people back, right? That's as simplistic as we're going to get. Now, if you pay back your credit cards on time, you don't have to pay interest. I want to preface this by saying that credit cards have one of the most predatory interest rates imaginable. Understand, credit cards, if you use them incorrectly, can be horrible for you, but they also can be great. Credit cards, like people, aren't inherently bad. The decisions you make kind of determine how you're going to see this, and it's relative, basically. So for people who told me when I was a kid that credit cards were bad, the credit card wasn't bad. The decisions they may have made with the credit cards may have been bad, or they may have been put into a position where they had no choice but to use credit cards for debt. They were spending more money than what they had, and they put it on the credit card. Now, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10 for most people when they're doing this, it's usually not because they had to survive. It's usually because they spent it frivolously. Usually. I'm not saying that's always what happens, but if we're being self-critical and we're being honest, we know a lot of times we did things that we shouldn't have done. I've done it myself plenty of times. I can't think of a time that I've been in credit card debt where it wasn't something that I could have avoided if I wanted to. I could have. I just chose not to. If we're being self-critical. So even though credit cards have some of the most highest interest rates you could possibly get, they're also one of the only credit products where you don't have to pay interest. If you don't carry a balance on a credit card, you don't have to pay interest. So it doesn't matter if my interest rate was 150% interest. If I pay that back within my cycle date, I don't have to pay it. And that's a fact, right? So you can make money from your credit cards. I talked about that a lot. As of late, you can make money from your credit cards. You can get rewards. And this is made possible through the act of borrowing the bank's money and paying it back on time. Before I get into redemption, I want to talk about how this process works, because I'm sure that you're thinking, so I just get a credit card, spend money on my credit card, or make purchases and pay my credit card back, and banks will pay me money for it. Sounds too good to be true, right? Sounds weird. Well, this is how it works behind the scenes. Have you ever been to a place that says cash only? Cash only? And you're wondering why it's just cash only? When you pay with a credit card, like if you go to my website and you make a purchase, you're not giving your money directly to me. You have to go through a merchant. I use Stripe. When you pay me, you know what happens? Stripe takes a percentage. They take about, usually on average, 1% to 2%. So whatever I make, someone else takes a cut of that. They take that to process that transaction, which means for you to have the convenience of paying with the card to pay me, I'm paying the convenience to the merchant. And guess who the merchant has to pay? The merchant has to pay the bank. The bank gets their money back from me, usually with an annual fee. And then they reward me, because I've technically already paid them, by giving me those rewards. I only get those rewards by spending more money. And you see how that's an ecosystem. The more money I spend, the more money that merchant gets, because they're taking 1% to 2% of my money. Then they have to pay the bank, the merchant, so they're getting paid. I'm paying an annual fee, and then they're rewarding me with cash back or points to get me to spend more money. It's an ecosystem where everybody's getting paid. Everyone's making money, right? Or that's how it's supposed to work. Now, if you don't have an annual fee, which when we go over a couple of credit cards, you'll notice how when you don't have an annual fee, you have really high interest. Usually those are the credit rebuilder cards or the starter cards. Your interest rate is high because they're also going to make money off of interest. Interest pays more banks money than probably anything else because they make a lot of money off of subprime lenders, which is why, in my belief, I believe they like to create subprime lenders. That's the reason why it's so easy to get into bad credit. It's so easy to get into debt. It's very easy. It's easy to maintain once you understand how it works, but one mistake, one late payment could drop you 100 points. Again, I think subprime lenders make more money than prime lenders do. All right. So let's talk about redemption for credit cards. When you redeem credit card rewards for points, you get more value. So, for example, and this should be really easy. Let's say that you have a travel card. Your travel card probably is going to give you points every time you spend. Let's say you got 100 points, right? If you were to redeem your points for a travel credit, they'll probably give you 10 cents for every point. 10 cents for every point. But let's say you wanted to redeem that for cash back, money you could put right into your account. You'll probably get 1 cent per point. So you actually get more value when you redeem for points than you do for cash back. So points redemption usually have a greater cash value, but you can't redeem them for actual cash. While cash back, it can go right into your bank account. Now we know cash is universal, so it could be used everywhere. But what you can do is, if you're going to redeem something, like let's say you were going to go see your family for the holidays and you knew you were going to pay $1,000 for that ticket. Well, now, if I was going to pay $1,000 for that ticket anyway, I could just redeem it for points. Then I can just take the cash and keep it myself or put it somewhere, which is what I would do. Like save it, because in actuality, technically, I was able to get this flight for free. So now I can take this $1,000 and I can go put it somewhere where it's going to grow. For me, that makes a lot of sense, because for somebody else, they're thinking, oh, but you took the 1,000. But in actuality, you got a free flight. It's free. It's already paid for. You were going to spend that money anyway. Why not then take that money and put it somewhere where it could grow? You didn't lose it. Your money's somewhere else, like in a stock investment, growing. That's how I see it. That's how I treat redemption and cashback, because I'm always looking at how to grow my money and have my money make more money for me. Investing is key, but that's a separate video. Anyway, I just wanted to emphasize the difference between cashback and points. And the reason why I want to do this is because this information will become relevant later. And it's something that you need to know, because I'm sure you're thinking, what does this have to do with beginner credit cards? I'm sure it sounds weird, and most people wouldn't do this for a beginner credit card video. They're just going to show you a couple of cards that you could get if your credit score is a 640. But what I want you to really understand is what you're trying to accomplish when you get these cards and where you can go after you get these starter cards. Okay? So there are different types of rewards. I have a few examples here from some of the top banks. For Chase, they have the ultimate reward points. Citibank has thank you reward points. Capital One uses miles instead of points. And these are just a few examples, but there are different cards of different affinities, of different co-brands that have different things that you can redeem for. Usually it's points to purchase a service or something of that nature, or it's cash back. One or the other for the most part. So at the end of the day, if you're trying to calculate how much points are worth, for a majority of the time, I found this to be the easiest way for a majority, especially the cards that we're going to talk about. Take off 2 zeros, for example, if you have 120,000 points, take off 2 zeros from that 120,000, and it's usually going to equal $1,200 in cash value. And again, when you have points and I say it's cash value, you could probably use this as a statement credit. So if you had a credit card bill that was $2,000, you could redeem the statement credit and apply $1,200 to your statement. So it has a cash value, but it's not actually cash. Okay? And to redeem it as cash, sometimes these same things apply, but it can vary throughout industries, throughout credit card types, throughout the bank that you're looking at. All right? And I jumped the gun here, but again, what does this have to do with beginner credit cards? And I want you to look at credit cards in a way where you get something back instead of a high interest loan. Like I was saying at the beginning, when people told me that credit cards were bad, the thing is they were using credit cards like loans. They were buying things that they couldn't afford and trying to pay them back later. But when you use a credit card like that, you have to pay interest, which means you have to pay more than what you spent. So the missing piece there was not that credit cards are bad inherently, but there's bad behavior when using them. You should use credit cards like they're debit cards. You should only use a credit card to buy things that you can have in your bank account. Now, if you're young, you're 17, you're 18 years old, you're just getting your first job, you're not making that much money, and you're starting, yeah, you could probably use your credit card for your emergency, at first. But after a while, you're going to have to learn how to set a little cash reserve aside. Now, use the credit card to only pay for things you're going to pay for anyway. Your food, your gas, your bills, things you are already going to pay for. Not for a Gucci bag or something that's like $10,000, $15,000 and you got $100 in your bank account. That doesn't make sense. So you can pay it off over the course of 12 months. No, that's not what that's the part that is missed. That's where we get lost in translation. So what I really want to get from this is for you to look at credit cards as a way to make money. A way to make money. Credit cards can make you money. Again, this isn't business talk. I'm not talking about buying inventory. This is personally. You could make money by just going to Sam's Club and buying groceries, by going to Costco, by going to Apple and buying a product you're going to buy anyway. You can make money from doing that. That's the point I want to drive home. But you don't buy things that you can't afford. You don't buy if you spend $1,000 on something, there better be $1,000 in your bank account. If it's not there, don't buy it on the credit card. You keep that principle, you'll never go wrong. So again, credit cards have some of the highest interest rates when it comes to borrowing money. However, they're one of the only lending products where you don't have to pay interest, and how you use them will determine how well they serve you. And if you get into the habit of looking at credit cards as a way to make money, it will change the way that you use them. Okay? This is another thing I want you to understand, especially when you start to get good credit cards that have high rewards. The people who pay interest fund the rewards. So like I was telling you, there's an ecosystem of how money is made, right? But for a lot of no annual fee cards where you're like, oh, they didn't have to pay, look at their interest rate. Banks make money off of interest. So in turn, they make money off the people who use credit cards as high interest loans. Banks then use the money from the high interest loans to support their reward programs to give back to people who pay them on time, encouraging them to spend more and earn something for it. Just think about that. When you're paying interest, you're a part of the group that's not only funding this financial institution, but they're also keeping the programs alive that reward the people who aren't paying interest. So you got to just pick a side of where you want to stand in this. And again, this isn't always black and white because sometimes emergencies do come up. Let's be, you know, let's be realistic, but we can also call a spade a spade. Whenever I think of examples of people who had problems with credit cards, it was usually something that they did. I saw it. It wasn't like, not, which there, this is, it could be a real example. It wasn't the guy who lost his job, didn't have a savings account, and then he had to use credit cards to survive, even though that happens a lot. And I've seen it because I've worked at three different banks. So I've seen it. I've heard every story. I've seen them all. I've seen them more times than I would like. So understanding that things do happen, but also I've seen it a lot. And when people work at the banks and you speak with them or you call, they can see your transactions. They see what you spent it on. And you can see the pattern. You can literally see all the patterns of how people spend money. I could look at someone's transactions and figure out exactly what occurred. Your transactions paint pictures, which if you go into your bank statement and look at your bank statement, you can look at someone almost and see where their values lie based off of their statement. So I would just keep that in mind. When you do get a credit card and you have access to $25,000, $50,000, that money or that line of credit is just a high interest loan. And if you can't afford to pay it back, it could be very nasty, which, a lot of us know. I know, especially. So let's finally get into the credit cards. Let's finally start talking about the cards. I want to talk about the main four issuers. When I'm saying the main four issuers, when we talk about credit cards, eventually you're going to want to climb that credit card tier ladder, right? You're going to want to get the cards that serve you the best. I believe that these four banks are going to have with credit cards, if you were to watch anybody's videos on YouTube, these are going to be the main four banks that at some point everybody comes to because they end up having the best products. Everyone's going to come to one of these banks. Everyone. I am almost assured of that. So that's going to be American Express. It's going to be Chase. It's going to be Capital One, Citibank. If you talk to anybody who is really good with credit cards or credit card rewards, personal credit cards, I could almost guarantee they have one of these banks. Guaranteed. So that's why, I'm talking about these four banks in particular as being very good bank credit cards, especially to start and climb the credit card tier ladder for the future when you get these really excellent elite credit cards. Now, here are some other cards. While they are good, those other four banks are a priority. But these are other cards. Banks and credit unions like U.S. Bank, Navy Federal Credit Union, and Bank of America. And again, I'm just giving you examples here. There's definitely other banks that you could go to that aren't as major, but I'm thinking national scale. And, I didn't really put Wells Fargo because I don't really like their credit card products that much. But that's also one. There are a lot of other places, but again, I'm just giving you a few examples. There's store cards, there's Apple, there's Amazon, there's Citi, there's Sam's Club. The reason why I mention those is because I believe anyone watching this video has probably spent money with one of these people. How do I know? The percentage of people that are Apple users that have iPhones, high percentage, right? A lot of people have iPhones. Amazon, it's the largest e-commerce platform in the world. Chances are you bought something off of Amazon at least once. I think they had a statistic where the average person spends at least $1,000 on Amazon in a year. The average person. City, when you're buying things in bulk, it just makes sense. Sam's Club, I'm including them because they're also affiliated with Walmart, of course. So if you are in any major city, then you probably have been to a Sam's Club, a Walmart. You probably been to a Costco. That it's a safe bet. All right. Now let's talk about level 1. These are, if this was a building and we're trying to get to the top floor on level 1, this is where we're starting. We're starting with secured credit cards. We're starting with, and again, there's a bunch of them, but I just want to use these as an example. We're starting with Capital One. We're starting with Discover It. We're starting with Open Sky, which Open Sky isn't like a major bank, but it's a secured credit card that you could get with no hard inquiry. Okay. Now, what are secured cards? If you are unaware, a secured card is where you need to give up collateral in order to get a credit line. So you're going to give a bank, let's say $200. They're going to give you a line of credit for $200, and you're going to use that as a credit card. 99% of people get approved for secured cards. Why? It's no risk. You gave up the money as collateral to have the credit line to prove to this bank that you can pay responsibly. So most people get approved unless they may have had like a prior negative history with that financial institution. Then you may get denied. But for the most part, even if you've done that, you still get approved for a secured credit card. They're good for credit building. They're good for rebuilding credit. The deposit's also refundable. So this is the Capital One Quicksilver. A lot of you may or may not have seen this card before, but even for this secure card, you can earn 1.5% cash back on everyday purchases. It's actually not that bad. I mean, for everyday cash back, like across the field, a great one would be 2%. So that's not bad at all. And they tell you right there that the $200 minimum deposit is refundable and you can get pre-approved with no risk. Now, if you notice one thing right here, look at that APR. It's 29.99% variable APR. Very high. Very high. Basically, if you carry a balance over on this card, they're going to make basically 30%. In our example with the $10 and you pay me back $2, that'd be 20%. This is, I gave you $10 and you gave me back $3. This is, this is, really, 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 really high. That's very, 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 very high. I gave you $1,000 and you got to give me back $1,300. That is a high APR. So you got to be careful with that. But even with that being said, as long as it's used responsibly, it can be okay. But you can also see how it can go bad really quick. You can look here and that can go bad if used the wrong way. And that interest could add up quick. So just be aware. But you'll see most secure cards will have very, very similar rewards, annual fees, interest rate. They'll all be very, very similar. So you just have to pick the one that works best for you, depending on what you're doing in the state that you're currently in. Not state, but the type of well-being that you may or may be in. Now we can move on to level 2. Now, level 2, this is what I would say is like a beginner card, like beginner, where it's unsecured. Remember, a secured card, you have to give a deposit, The beginner is unsecured, which most credit cards, well, all credit cards really are unsecured for the most part. The secured card is where you have to give a deposit for your limit, but every other type of credit card is always unsecured. So the Chase Freedom and the Chase Freedom Unlimited are good, very, very good beginner cards. Bank of America Cash Rewards, pretty good card, pretty good rewards. Citibank Double Cash, another really good one. And I would even say not the, and this right here was a mistake, not the American Express Gold, the American Express, the Amex Everyday. That was a typo. Apologize for that. But the Amex Everyday is a good card. So as you can see here, when you're looking at this beginner cards usually have welcome bonuses. So as you can see, the APR is based on a variable. You remember the other one was 29.99%. This one can range from 20.49% to 29.24%. A little bit better. You've almost dropped by 10% depending on where you are. You also have 0% APR for 15 months. That means for 15 months, you can pay the minimum payment on this credit card and you won't accrue interest. Be careful. That is nice, but be careful. Be very, very careful, because that, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you want to always be careful when you have those types of things, because you got to use it responsibly. That can get you into a hole. The 15 months will go by fast. Earn a $200 bonus. So you earn a $200 bonus after you spend $500 on purchases in the first 3 months of account opening. So this is what I'm talking about. Here's a way for you to make a little bit of money from opening this credit card. You spend $500, you pay some bills, you get back $200. Now, if you use this card for dining at restaurants and takeout, you can get 3% cash back. That's pretty cool. If you use it at drugstores, 3% cash back. You can earn 5% on travel purchases through Chase Travel. Okay? And then you get 1.5% back on all other purchases. Cashback rewards don't expire. It's no annual fee. And I'm sure that somewhere here, because I don't see the terms and conditions, but I'm not going to go into it. Somewhere here, I'm sure that this is limited to a certain amount. It caps out. Like, for example, you can probably get 3% cash back to a certain amount of money. And then after that, oh, here it is. Since I'm already here, I might as well look for it. So right here, 5% rewards on each purchase, 3.5% cash back. There's some type of Lyft reward bonus that you could get right there. Well, just me briefly going through this, I didn't see anything, but how a lot of credit cards work, they'll let you get to a certain dollar amount, sometimes per year, sometimes per quarter. And then after that, it'll cap out. I'm not going to read the entire rewards program, but if you want to check out the Chase Freedom Unlimited, then you can, and you can take a look at if there are any caps on the rewards. But this is just an idea of a good starter card. Now, since I did have a typo, I thought it's only right to show you the Amex card I was talking about. That's a good beginner American Express. That would be the Amex Everyday Preferred credit card. Now, this credit card does have an annual fee of $95, but keep in mind, anytime there's an annual fee, you probably have pretty good rewards. Now, there's 0% APR on this one as well on purchases and balance transfers for 12 months from the date of account opening, then a variable APR of 18.24% to 28.24%. So the APR dropped at its lowest 2% than the Chase Freedom. And you can get 3x points on grocery stores. That's at U.S. supermarkets up to 6,000 per year. You get 2x points on gas stations and 1x points. Then American Express has a lot of additional benefits and rewards that you can also check out. But there's another welcome bonus that's pretty good. that pretty much covers the annual fee. So you earn 15,000 membership reward points after you spend $2,000 in eligible purchases on your Amex Everyday Preferred credit card within the first 6 months. So hey, if your bills are $1,000, or I'm sure they're more than that, but if you can spend $1,000 a month on this card for 2 months, you'll then get $2,000. You'll then get $15,000 back in points. So that is nice. Again, that basically covers your annual fee right there. And then you also are able to earn some really good reward points. So if you're spending a lot of money in grocery stores, gas stations, which I'm sure all of us are, this might be a really good card for you. A couple of other things. If you're looking at these beginner cards, you're looking at Chase. Chase prefers applicants with some account history, meaning you have a bank account with them, checking, savings, direct deposit, some of their other services. They're really good about, loyalty and building that relationship. So you want to do that. Bank of America cash rewards cards, very friendly. Citibank as well. Amex is definitely new customer friendly with higher approval rates. I believe that Amex doesn't really lean on their checking and savings accounts per se. So I think that's why they're a little bit friendly. Chase is accepted 99% because it's a Visa affinity card. American Express is accepted less. That's why I would never just carry an American Express with me, because there are some places that don't take American Express, so you want to be careful. And I would say these credit cards require a score of at least a 650. I would say, if you can help it, no derogatory marks, no collections, no late payments, anything like that. 650 credit score should get your foot in the door for a few of these cards. And this is just from some research that I've done. If these are subject to change, it depends on the credit card issuer. It depends on the bank. It depends on the economy. A lot of things could change. Sometimes with like higher interest rates, if we're going through a process of like quantitative easing, you may see that they're a little bit more tight with giving away credit. But if we're in an economy where money is being given at low interest rates, then you'll probably see that it's a lot more lax. And then you start to get more approvals, higher limits. So it depends on what's going on sometimes, but I would say this is actually a good starting point if you are doing this. So level 3 cards, these are mid-tier credit cards. That would be the Chase Sapphire Preferred, the Capital One Venture, the World Hyatt, and the American Express Gold. Now, these are cards that are going to more than likely have an annual fee. They're going to have an annual fee, but they're going to offer a lot of other promotional offers, some services like, if you spend a certain amount on them, they may reimburse you something for a particular item. They'll have warranties and guarantees for maybe, cell phone protection, things like that. But let's look at the Chase Sapphire Preferred. So you can earn 60,000 bonus points after you spend $4,000 on purchases in the first 3 months. That is pretty cool. That's $750 towards travel when redeemed through Chase Travel. And then right here, they let you know over 150 in additional partnerships and benefits. And then you can go there and you can check it out and see what other partnerships and benefits that they have. But you can earn a $50 statement credit each account anniversary year for hotel stays purchased through Chase Travel. Earn 5x total points on travel through Chase Travel, excluding hotel purchases. You earn 2x points on travel. You earn 3x points on dining, including delivery services and takeout. You earn 3x points on grocery stores purchases like Target, Walmart, wholesale clubs. Excluding, let me rephrase that, excluding Target, Walmart, and wholesale clubs, which makes sense because there are also other branded cards that go with like Walmart or Target. Let me also say that if you're looking at this video, I have no preference to Chase or American Express or any particular bank. And as you're watching this, know that there may be a card, like there's a MasterCard for Instacart. You have to look at your life and you have to determine which one of these are best for you. But as I've done research, I found out the 3% cash back, 2x points, this, that. A lot of them end up being the same for the most part. So I have a video that I've made already that may or may not be out before this video, but in that video, I talk about all the cards that I got and how like I get 5% back on gas. I get 5% back here because I spend here. I get 5% back here because I do this. I get 4% back here because I do that. I made the best cards for me. There's a Walmart card that you could get with Capital One that gives you 5% back on Walmart.com. If you do Walmart.com orders, you might want that card. If you do Sam's Club orders, you might want the Sam's Club MasterCard. You got to pick the one that works best for you. So while I'm giving you these examples, just know that there are plenty more that I am not covering. I just want to cover the ones that, again, at some point, I feel like if we're looking at the four main issuing banks, you're going to eventually, as you climb that credit card tier ladder, you're going to come across these at some point. That's what I do know. At some point, you will probably want one of these. Okay. So, yeah, $95 annual fee, 21.49% APR variable. That's the lowest. It can, again, it depends on your credit and it adjusts. And, yeah, when you go through these, you'll start finding things that make sense for you. No foreign transaction fee, travel and purchase coverage. Again, you're looking at this card. If you travel a lot, this is a card that you probably would use. There are cards that you could use primarily for travel points. There are cards that you could use primarily for cash back. It just depends on what you're doing. All right, just depends on what you're doing. Now, this is a card that I personally have, but on the business side, but the rewards and everything is pretty much the exact same. It does have a higher annual fee. On the American Express Gold Personal, the annual fee is $250. On the American Express Gold Business, it's $395. And I know because they just hit me with it. But I also had a bigger reward bonus, an introductory one. So you earn 60,000 membership points after you spend $6,000 on your new card in the first 6 months. So pretty cool. If you spend at least $1,000 a month on this card in 6 months, you'll be able to earn that 60,000 points, which should have a cash value of $600, which would then pretty much cover that annual fee. So you'll always make more money with using these cards properly than you will by spending, on the annual fee. Now you get 4x at restaurants worldwide. This is one of the main reasons why I got this card. Mine is still 4x here. I don't get 4x at grocery stores, but I do have 3x on travel and 1x on all other purchases. This card has a APR for paying over time. Now, for American Express, this is a charge card. And what I mean by that is a charge card doesn't have a revolving balance. It needs to be paid in full on time. But what I've learned is there's a feature called pay over time. Pay over time isn't your credit limit, but it is the amount that they'll allow you to carry over and pay with interest. Now, for the American Express Gold Business that I have, it's $75,000. I can carry over $75,000. I have a spending power of over $50,000, but American Express is a little different. They have flexible limits. They have no limit. There is no limit on this card. You can put in how much you would like to spend on like a single transaction, And I've seen mine go as high as like 50,000 plus thus far. Um, so if I needed to spend that all in one transaction, I can, but we also got to keep in mind who's going to be spending $50,000 on a single transaction if you're a regular everyday person. So that's a business card. This is a personal card. So let's keep it personal. We're spending this at restaurants and grocery stores and flights. I don't think you're going to have a 50K dinner. So spending power may not necessarily matter, but know that there's no credit limit on this card. The credit limit is a flexible one. And you also have pay over time. But with a charge card, you should be paying it in full every single month. You get a $120 dining credit, which if you enroll, you earn up to $10 per statement with an annual savings of $120. You also get $120 in Uber Cash. Get a $100 experience credit with a 2-night minimum stay when you book a hotel through American Express Travel, and no foreign transaction fees, which I used to travel out the country a lot, like almost like once a month for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. So I could tell you that not having a foreign transaction fee is awesome when you go somewhere and you spend it and you see that they're charging you for the currency exchange. Like if you went from the dollar to the peso, or you went from the dollar to the Canadian dollar, or you went from the dollar to the euro, there some cards have a fee for that when they have to exchange the currency. Oh, all right, weird. But you don't have to do that on this card. So again, while there seem like some of these things seem like small, when you start to do other things, you'll start to notice like, oh, good thing I have that. Like that comes in handy, especially if you travel a lot. And then there's additional services, send and split, card membership fees, additional cards that you can add for others, the year in summary, which is definitely good if you want to, keep track of things that you can, add to taxes for write-offs. But yeah, pretty good card once we get into that level 3, that mid-tier level. And for these cards, they're going to require probably a 700 credit score. Now, level 4 is going to be the elite tier cards, elite tier credit cards. That's going to be the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Capital One Venture X, which just like the American Express Gold has no limit. It's a flexible limit, I believe. The American Express Platinum, the Hilton Honors, and let's look at the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you have a 60,000 bonus point offer after you spend $4,000 of account opening. That's $900 towards travel when you redeem through Chase Travel. And you get 5x points on travel flights, 10x points on hotels and car rentals when you purchase travel through Chase Travel after the first $300 is spent on travel purchases annually. It's pretty cool. APR can range from 22.49% to 29.49% with an annual fee of $550. And then it's $75 for each authorized user. Now, when you're looking at this card, depending on where you are, may or may not make sense for you. But if you travel a lot and you're spending a lot of money on travel, again, the annual fee seems high, right? But you have to look at what benefits you get from it. $1,000 in additional partnership benefit values, 300 annual travel credit, right? More ways to earn 5x points, earn 10x points on hotels. That's a pretty big one. 10x points, complimentary lounge access to over 1,300 plus airport lounges with up to 2 guests, plus every Chase Sapphire lounge by club. You get global entry. That's a thing that when you travel a lot is really awesome. You can go through global entry is the same thing as TSA PreCheck, or the same thing as like Clear. where you don't have to do the, you don't have to stand in line and go walk through you can go through here through the pre-check line. You get through faster. If you travel a lot and you're tired, you're fatigued, you just want to just get to your gate. Maybe you're in a hurry, you're in a rush. That pre-check does come in handy, except if you get there too early, because I've noticed in Vegas, even if you have it, if it's like 5 in the morning, the pre-check is closed. So it's like, oh, well, if I'm early, then I can't use the pre-check. That's my one gripe. I don't like that, but yeah, I like to get in there early when it's empty. But subsequently, if you get there and it's empty, no TSA pre-check. So 1-to-1 point transfer. You get premium travel benefits, partner benefits, Chase Pay over time. So the same thing that you have, right? Chase Pay over time lets eligible Chase customers break up credit card purchases into budget-friendly payments. There are 2 potential ways to pay over time. After purchase, pay off an eligible purchase you've already made of 100 or more in smaller equal monthly payments. There's at checkout. Chase credit card members may have the option to create a payment plan at checkout on Amazon.com orders totaling $50 or more. So those are just a few other options that you have in mind. There's a spend instantly option. Apply for a card. You can use it the same day, adding it to your Apple Wallet. Purchase coverages. Again, you have the protection of if you have a new purchase, it'll be covered for 120 days against damage or theft up to $10,000 per claim. So think about that. Yes, your annual fee is $550, but if I were to purchase something on my credit card that was $5,000 to $10,000, they'll reimburse me for that thing. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of value. Return protection. You can be reimbursed for eligible items that the store won't take back for 90 days of purchase, up to $500 per item. So if you had something that you wanted to return to a store and they said you're out the 30-day window, you can get reimbursed here. Those are just a couple of things. Extended warranty that, when you start looking at the benefits of something, depending on, again, where you are in your life, these may be really, really good benefits. And as you can see, they have a value already that covers that $550, but only if this is conducive to your lifestyle. Does that make sense? American Express Platinum is a similar way. 80,000 member rewards after you spend $8,000 on your new card in the first 6 months. 29.49% to 29.24% variable APR. A $695 annual fee. $200 hotel credit. $240 digital entertainment credit. A $155 Walmart Plus credit. Global Lounge collection. So a lot of people do love that American Express Global Lounge entry. $200 airline fee credit per calendar year. $200 Uber Eats cash. So as you can see, $189 Clear Plus, $300 Equinox credit, global dining access, 5x points on flights, 5x on prepaid hotels if you book on Amex Travel, 1x points on everything else. So you're gonna get a lot of benefits with this card, especially travel. It starts to make me wonder, what's the point of the Delta Sky mile cards? I guess if you fly Delta often, then that might be like a really good thing. But yeah. So again, I wanna just make sure that we understand. I'm showing you the elite tier credit cards because I want to make a comparison to the benefits that you get from the card. Now, a lot of the elite tier ones, they usually have these type of benefits: miles, points, rewards, credits, etc. I think as you get higher, they stop doing as much cash back and they do more point and redemption value. But again, the way that I use credit cards, if I were to get cash back, I mean, not cash back, but points or rewards, I just reimburse myself with cash. And then I just pocket that because the way I see it, I'm never going to use anything on my credit card that I wasn't going to already spend. So if I was already going to spend that on a flight or a hotel, but yet I have a credit that covers it, well, guess what? I was going to spend that anyway. I'm taking that money from myself and say, hey, this is going to go over here into our investment pile or our Roth IRA or wherever else, and it's going to make us money. It's not lost. It's not gone. It's not spent. It's right over here. I can open up my phone and see it. It's over there growing. So it's not lost. It's just being moved somewhere where it can grow. Now at this point, if you wanted me to make a video where I go over like different store cards, Apple, Walmart, Costco, Instacart, there's literally a partnership card that could go with everything. But if you ask me, when you get to the benefits of like points and cash back for grocery stores, for dining, for those are the things that normal people are doing with their personal credit cards. You're paying bills, you're eating out, potentially you might be traveling a few times a year, things of that nature, and now you're being reimbursed for it by using your card responsibly. I do think these cards are applicable to a lot of people, a majority of people, I would say. So if you want to make a video for specific cards that do specific cash back for specific things, then I can do that as well. Again, I have another video with how I've been using my cards, and it basically breaks down how I can make anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 off of my cards per year based off of the plan that I made. So if you're watching this video and that video hasn't come out yet, then I'll probably link it. Maybe I'll link it here. It may not be that you may not see a link right here yet because I haven't put it out yet. But if I did, then I'll link it here so you can watch that. Now, this is just level 5. Level 5 credit cards are normally invitation only credit cards. So you can't apply for them, but you can kind of learn a little bit about them and how maybe you can be qualified to actually get one. But this is a invitation only, and I did the American Express Black. Now, if you're reading a review of the Centurion card from American Express, that's the American Express Black, it's probably not for you. First of all, you can't apply for the card. You need to be invited, and the unique characteristics of the card, also known as the Black Card, both in price perks, are like no other. If you're in the select group that can apply for the card, even if the cost/benefit analysis doesn't make sense, you might get it just because you're one of the elite few who can. And this is just, to me, like just fun, because if you're spending, I'm sure if you're spending a certain amount of money with American Express and you probably have their gold or platinum cards, you could probably get this card. I would say that if you really, I haven't done that much research. If you really wanted to get a card like this, you could, I mean, this is probably like way far, but if you wanted to get a card like this, you could probably read Reddit forums, maybe FICO, my FICO groups. People online have this card and they'll tell you the criteria that they needed. And from that information, you can take it and compile it into a list and say, based off of what I've read, you need to do this if you want to get this card. And I would say this card would be more of a status symbol than anything else. That would be the big thing, is that you can get it. But welcome bonus, they don't have an answer. Annual fee, $5,000. APR, terms. Credit score, excellent. I would say you at least would have to have a 780 to 800, maybe something of that nature. Maybe 750, I don't know. I think it's more determined on how much you spend. So pros, it's exclusivity. It's a status symbol. Only a small or handful of people can obtain this. Membership rewards are versatile and easy to redeem. There's concierge service that goes beyond the norm. Perks that could help negate the fees. It's invite only. It's a hefty invitation fee. Ultra high annual fee required for authorized users. No bonus categories. So they really don't have that much information on here. There's an exclusive retail benefit including up to $250 per quarter in Saks Fifth Avenue credits. You get $250 to spend at Saks Fifth every quarter. So that's what possibly a great value for you if you shop at Saks Fifth. If you shop at Saks Fifth very often. Complimentary elevation to elite status levels at several of the world's largest travel brands, including the IHG Platinum Elite, Hilton Honors, Diamond, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to just give that just as a for fun example of something that you could probably get if you get to the very, 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 very top of the 1%. And then you can say that I watched Steven's video and I watched that, and then I got the American Express Black Card, and then just shout me out because you're probably a decamillionaire, about to be a billionaire. So just remember me. All right, bonus level. This is just bonus, but I'm not gonna go into it because I already made a video about this. This is my bag. Bonus level is business credit cards, Amex Gold Business, Amex Platinum Business, Chink Business Inc. I like this because, one, it doesn't show up on your personal credit. It doesn't affect your utilization. If you know about the Chase 524 rule, you can only have 5 credit card products in 24 months. This isn't affected by that rule. I have 2 of the credit cards already on this list. I have the Amex Gold Business. I also have the Chase Business Inc. card, which gives you 5% cash back on like your phone bill, internet cable, that type of stuff. Love that. I'm literally going to use the card really probably to pay that type of bill, get the cash back on there. I think that's great. Good reward, 0% APR for 12 months on that one. Amex Gold right now, my favorite card, I would have to say. Definitely love that card. I was looking for my wallet, but it's okay. I can't find it. Yeah. So to me, these are just bonuses because you can have these in conjunction with the personal credit cards, but they're like phantom cards. They don't show up here. You get higher limits for them. I think that the business ones are the way to go. So just know that I feel like if you look at like the high tier, I feel like there's that high tier, there's that elite, and right there somewhere floating in the middle is business credit cards. That's like where I see business credit cards. It's right there on the side. It's that level that you didn't even know that you could get to. Only a few of us knew about that one. But I'm just joking. Just wanted to just throw that in there just so that you're aware. Again, I do have that other video where I talk about the business credit cards and how I'm using them. But yeah, I really do like business credit cards probably more than any other personal. Now, if you apply for any of these credit cards that you've seen on this list, I just wanted to give you some information on reconsideration. If you're denied, I would call. Sometimes your denial is systematic based off of something that, maybe it was a certain criteria. Like, for example, the Chase 524 rule, it shouldn't count if you're an authorized user on a card because technically it's not your card. Sometimes with their system, they'll look at that and say, oh, he's past that. You can call, have a real person, manually review your application. Now, if you have a low credit score, this may not help you. So I just want to make that clear. If you have a low credit score that doesn't meet the requirements, then this probably won't help you. But if you meet the requirements, but something like that were to happen, like with that rule, or maybe, maybe you had a little higher utilization that month because you didn't pay the card down to like 5%, whatever the case may be, call the reconsideration line if it makes sense for you. Now, Chase, it's 1-800-945-2006, press 0. Bank of America, 1-866-422-8089. American Express 1-877-399-3083. Citibank 1-888-201-4523. Just a couple of different options there on case. So just know that if you were denied and it didn't make sense, you have an option. The reconsideration line does work. I know. I've worked for a few banks. I've had to transfer people to the reconsideration line. Excuse me. Sat in on the calls. They've been approved. So it does work. It does work. Again, if you don't qualify as far as credit score, it's not going to work. Or sometimes derogatory marks, things like that, charge-offs may not work for you, even if you have a high credit score. Because I've had when I was in the low 700s with one single charge-off, I still couldn't get approved for anything. So just know that it weighs heavy. Not all the time, but weighs heavy. All right. A couple of tips for your money in choice categories. So if you get, again, I've talked about this throughout the video, but I just want to keep this in mind. If you get 5% or 5x points in like a restaurant category, only use that card at a restaurant. Use your card strategically in a way that makes sense for your lifestyle. I have the Amazon Prime business card. Why? I spend money on Amazon. Guess what? I get 5% back in points when I use that card. So now what I'm going to do is, if I get 5% back, I'm going to pay my card. I'm going to use the points as a statement credit, but I'm going to take whatever the statement credit is, and I'm going to pocket that money and put it somewhere where it could grow. Because for me, if my balance is $500 to pay on my credit card, but I have a statement credit of $25, yes, I'm going to pay $475 and redeem my statement credit, but I'm not just going to say, oh, yeah, I have $25 that I could spend. No. I'm going to take that $25. I'm going to set it aside now because I was going to spend it anyway. I was going to pay that bill. I basically got reimbursed it. I'm going to take it now, and I'm going to put it somewhere where it could grow. And I did the same thing for me, for my girlfriend, so that way she can spend money on the card too. So we just are going to rack up nothing but cash back, and she's going to do the same thing. Whatever you spend, statement credit, give me that cash back. We're going to sit it here, and we're going to use this for investments. So I believe if you do it like that, even if you were a person where you were in a situation where, let's say you were in a situation where all you could do is spend money on bills and it was so hard to save money. If you're a person who can spend $100,000 to $150,000 in a year, which some of us do, you can potentially get back $5,000 to $7,500 in cash back and points that you could reimburse yourself and save it. So even if you couldn't save, you could save, is what I'm saying. Like, you want to think outside the box, right? Start to use these credit cards to pay yourself money. Start to use them to invest. Start to use them so that, even when you thought that you couldn't do something, you figured out a way to do it. You know what I'm saying? Take it. Save that money. Set it to the side. If you have a great idea and you know it's going to work, maybe you want to start a YouTube channel, but you just want to get a camera and some equipment, do that for the year. Buy all that stuff. Get to work. Start doing that thing that you really wanted to do. But just, use it responsibly. Use it responsibly. I think that is all I have for you guys. This was a much longer video than what I intended for it to actually be. I hope this information was useful. I do hope that at the very least, it possibly changed your outlook, your perception of credit. Maybe now credit doesn't look so scary. Maybe it looks exciting now. Maybe it looks like something that you realize you can turn it into an asset instead of a liability. That is my hope for this video. I really, truly, 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 at the bottom of my heart, hope that this gave you perspective. I truly, truly hope, if anything, that's the one thing that it did. And that would be, if this gave one person perspective, then this was worth it. I did my job, and I'm happy with that. I'm very, very happy with that. So with that being said, I released my no PG, no credit check Verizon phone line video yesterday. In that video, I mentioned people were talking about. I mentioned I could make other videos on like trading stock, teaching you how to do that, because I did that for a lot of years. ETFs, because I've been really big in the ETFs. Like a lot of these points that I'm getting, or a lot of the cash back I'm getting, they're going into my investment account, my investment brokerage account, or they're going into IRA. IRA maxes out at 6,000, so I'm like, 6,000. I want to do more than that. So I could do it all, and it's really cool to know that for money I was gonna spend anyway, I could max out my IRA, and I could also invest into my brokerage account with additional money. So it's just pretty awesome knowing that I have all these different options of doing things. And if that would interest you, again, this is a video more on the personal side, not for people that are, well, this could benefit everyone, whether you have a business or not. This can benefit you, but it was more for the personal side, the person who may not necessarily they may not care about business credit. I've talked to a lot of people when I do my one-on-one coachings. I like to ask people, what is their intention once their credit is repaired, once it's in an excellent status? What are they going to do? A lot of people are just looking to buy a home. So I may get into some content about first-time home purchases. So I may have to start doing research and digging into that. And that might be very beneficial for a lot of people. It might help a lot. So continue to comment and leave your suggestions here. If you have a new credit card that you just got and you applied for it, leave a comment with the rewards or the points or something. I like to make these videos hubs for information. So if people come to this video and they watch this video, I want them to be able to jump right into the comments, and I want there to be conversations, not just me, but everyone conversing about how we can help each other. So please make this channel, make each of these videos like little chat rooms. I want them to be hubs for education, for knowledge, for growth. That's what I really want. Make this a central location to gain information. Make this a resource for people. We did good work today. That's what it's about. We did good work. We did good work. I appreciate you for allowing me to do good work. Thank you so much. You have a great day.